So riot control. So if you have to be you have to watch like 40 hours of videos, and you have to do a bunch of training to be a guard. The guards look like police, which is kind of stupid because people are shooting police and the guards look exactly like police. They aren't police. There's such a thing as I think it's a G level. It's they can actually carry a gun. That's what you need, a security guard with a gun. So anyway, they have to go through all this training, and they go through a fingerprint, and they're supposed to be professional. So they go, they're at Publix and they're at condominiums. They're all over the place. So they have to be trained not to touch anybody. God knows if they touched anybody. So anyway, they can't touch anybody. They can't say anything. They can't do searches. All they can do is call the regular police. So what it is, they're trained in riot control, and there's like 10 hours of training in riot control. So as if a security guard with a security hat on and these little badges and the little belts, so they are able to control a riot. One guard, so you can imagine at a condominium, a $1 billion condominium like Alinari or Rosemary or out in Longboat Key, where they have like $10 million condominiums. You can imagine that the old people, these people on walkers with canes and half senile, are going to riot. And so these guards have to be trained in riot control. They have to look at a bunch of video and stuff and sign off, and then they get hired. So apparently, if there's a riot, this one guard, which a lot of them are overweight and much older, and I shouldn't say anything, but they're not. A lot of them are women. The women are competent, but they got these thick soles on for running and walking around, and they look important. So they have to be trained in riot control in case there's a riot. I don't know what kind of riot would go on. Somebody didn't get their food, or they didn't get a package, or I don't know, something went off in their heads, and they decided to riot. And riot may be shaking their cane in the air or throwing their walker at somebody. Who the hell knows? So that's riot control. They really have to be trained in this. It's the fastest growing occupation in the United States, especially in Florida. We need these guards, and obviously there's riots. You can tell how wild it is right now. You can hear the people screaming outside. We're waiting for the guard to come and control riots. Now, so chimpanzees, monkeys, and stuff like that. The chimpanzee, and we'll talk about chimpanzee. Okay, so a chimpanzee, way back in the 60s, there was a guy named Jack Parr who came on before David Letterman. Letterman and I went to the same school. We didn't know one another. We were both C students and idiots. So he had a mentor, and he went on to the talk show thing. Well, before him was Johnny Carson, and before him was Jack Parr. And Jack Parr was a really, really, really good interviewer. So Jack Parr once he'd have this guy on, I can't think of his name, he's a zoologist. He'd bring different animals on, and snakes and stuff like that. And Johnny Carson was really cool. So one day they had this chimpanzee on. So the chimpanzee got a little nuts, and they go after your, what do I want to say? If a chimpanzee comes after you, he goes after your privates and your face. So he tries to rip your eyes out and your privates out, because he figures if you can't see anything and you can't reproduce, you're not going to be too much damage. So anyway, this guy has this. This is Jack Parr. You can look it up on the internet. So it has this chimpanzee. So the chimpanzee all of a sudden doesn't like. Jack Parr used to. It seemed like to me. No, it was Johnny Carson had a pencil. I don't remember what Jack Parr did. Anyway, he reached or did something. He scared the chimpanzee. Chimpanzee reaches over and he rips his suit apart, and he comes after him. Well, they got him under control. So the chimpanzee. So they say that chimpanzees have the strength of 10 men. Well, that makes sense, because the chimpanzee really have no prefrontal cortex. A lot of people don't either. They're damaged from liquor and drug. So this is the logical left prefrontal cortex. This is where the engineering, the control, looking into the future, stuff like that. This is supposedly the right side, where we have more creative stuff like that, mathematics. So the prefrontal cortex, theoretically, there's 80 to 100 million neurons, which is equivalent to the amount in the sky. But this is your critical thinking and stuff like that. Well, a monkey doesn't have that. Monkeys are really strong because they don't have it, so it's all physical, right? So that's why a monkey has 10 times the strength of a man, because a man can think and reason and supposedly and doesn't go after people, but the chimpanzee does. Chimpanzees are really strong. Monkeys are a different breed. Monkeys aren't really that violent, but the chimpanzees go off once in a while and go nuts. I guess that's where the security guard, there should be security guards trained in riot control for chimpanzees. Chimpanzees and monkeys do that. Of course, sometimes monkeys will throw their feces at you if they don't like it, and that's an obsessive compulsive trait. Anyway, so that's the way it is. 20 minutes of information, the prefrontal cortex. That's why we meditate for 20 minutes twice a day to clear the prefrontal cortex out. But he doesn't have one. The monkeys and stuff don't really meditate. They probably should, because they have a 10 times the strength of a man. Then again, most men don't do much except sit, drink beer, and talk about high school and old style bars. So they really don't have much strength at all. So 10 men, if you took 10 normal men today, they'd have about as much strength as a kitten. So I guess that's what we have to look at. So I guess that I'd say 100 men that are in good shape, that are weightlifters, maybe guys to Y, we can equivocalize that type thing. Then there's monkeys and there's the great apes, and they're pretty smart. And there was Coco, who used to communicate through sign language, and I think Coco even took off somebody. So the key is, if you want to be a guard, you have to have riot control, but you only make $8 an hour. And the best thing to start a company and have these guards trained in riot control, because if monkeys and chimpanzees have a riot, and of course most of the monkeys, chimpanzees in your head anyway, they're always rioting. That's why people are going nuts, because they're hearing things and they're believing thoughts, and that's why the mystics say, well, meditate, because you meditate or listen to music, that calms the monkeys down, because the monkeys are always rioting in your head. But so I guess what we need is a guard that's controlled in riot. He can get into your head somehow, which would make him a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a, let's see, he'd have to be some kind of a hypnotist, unless he went on to an incredible journey, and that's when they minimalized down to a nano size, and they went in your vein, and this little spaceship went around people's bodies to get into the head, control them. So there's a possibility for control of chimpanzees, monkeys, riot control, and special officers that go in and calm the monkeys down. But that would put all the meditators and the people that teach mindfulness like me out of business. There it is. It's all tied together. Mindfulness, riot control. I don't want to mention Chris, because she might get in trouble for riot control, not able to. We're given secrets now.